I bet you didn't expect to have another episode of this podcast so soon after the last one. And honestly, I didn't either. 9/11 kind of creeps up on people. It's one of those memorial type of days where I guess you just don't expect it, which is pretty much what that day was about. Very, very unexpected. And I felt like I wanted to talk about it because what do we do on these podcasts? We talk. And so I've got some thoughts and opinions on it. So I'm just going to start off with that. I remember pretty vividly. I was living with my in-laws at the time. I was married. I had just moved to the Gulf Coast, and I'd left a pretty good job, and I wouldn't say I was struggling finding work, but I was trying to find work that I wanted. And I had done IT for a few years at that point, and I was ready for a break. And I was applying for a property management position. It was via like this headhunter type of system where, they interview people and they forward those candidates on and that type of thing, or I'm not exactly sure. But I'd woken up, I was getting ready, and I had a really blue, nice dress shirt on, I think black pants, and I was going to put a tie on, and we were ironing. And I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I think we were flipping through the news channels, and we saw one of the towers on fire. And we're like, whoa. And it seemed like kind of a big deal. There wasn't a lot of information coming in at that point. You just knew that like an airplane had hit a tower. And, probably my first thought was small plane. And then as we're watching and, we're kind of digesting what was going on, the second tower got hit. And then that's kind of when it started to sink in, like, whoa, this is not just an accident. And so the news was putting it together too. And my first thought was, should I call in? Should I call in and not go to this appointment? And I don't remember exactly what happened. I remember having that thought. I don't remember if I tried to call and I couldn't get through, and I was just anxious to go. But anyway, I went, and I get in, and me and the headhunter are talking, and it invariably turns around the Twin Towers, and I think we were both distracted, and I think we kind of went through the emotions, but for whatever reason, I didn't get that job. I think it was God's plan. Obviously, it was God's plan. And I went home, and the news got worse, and it got progressively worse. And we were so unsure as to what was going on that we stayed inside. Who knows what was going to happen or what was going on. There was a lot of, I think the government did the right thing, but we tended to overcorrect, and I felt like that's what we did. And nobody really went to work. there was just all kinds of odd feelings going on. It was definitely some sleepless nights, restless sleep, wondering what was going to happen tomorrow. And I think the other part that was just really fascinating was that neighbors kind of came together. So many people came together. Neighbors checked up on each other, although it kind of seems silly in retrospect. But that's what was going on. It kind of reminded me after, a hurricane where your neighbors and your town folk kind of banded together to check up on each other, which is kind of strange because before that, you may not have ever said anything to those people. It'd be like most of my neighborhood now, which I only know one of my neighbors. It'd be like if we all got together right now, it'd just be really odd, but that's what happened. I think we had some meals outside, some other things, both after 9/11 and, in the different hurricanes that I've been through. And yeah, it was kind of beautiful, that people were, actually cared about each other. And, in the months and years to follow, the bold patriotism that was going on. I remember really vividly that I was watching Fox News. I think Fox News was relatively new at that time and wasn't so biased. Or, well, it's hard to say. But I just remember hearing about people signing up to go, and the news happening all over the place, and you hearing the stories of families. And so what was a terrorist action that happened in New York City, affected the whole world, even my little world. And you started to see these effects of people that were going over there to fight the war on terror. And a lot of them didn't come back. And it was a different time. I think things got very polarized because of that. It's hard to say. But I was looking at pictures today, and it was very surreal to see, like the one famous picture of the man that jumped off or fell off one of the towers, and reading the stories and hearing some of the testimony and chaos that was going on. And it affected me, still does. And, I wasn't there, but I lived during that time. I absorbed a lot of that information. And I think, I had a different life back then. The family I had then was not anywhere close to the family I have now. It was all different. And it wasn't too much longer after that I changed. My marriage changed. And then the marriage ended. And there were a lot of things that changed because of that day, whether we realize it or not. It changed a lot of us. I mean, surely it must be like the Pearl Harbor to my generation. that there's this terrible incident that galvanizes the country into something terrible like war. And throughout history, there seems that there's been a lot of that going on. And I don't know. I mean, if you're listening to this, you could be younger, you could be older. Maybe you weren't alive then. My kids weren't. My kids were far removed from that by at least 10 years or more. Speaking of my kids, I was looking at my firstborn son, technically. And he's graduated high school now. We haven't really talked. There's been some communication, but it hasn't been much. I really want to tell him, hey, let's do something very basic. Let's talk on the phone. Let's do something. And I feel like it would be awkward. I feel like it would be for me. It wouldn't be for him. And like if he wanted to do it, he would have asked. But I don't know. I mean, I've put that offer out there several times. But I don't know. I see pictures of him now. Him doing things with vehicles, and it really looks like he's living his 18-year-old life like possibly I could have or would have at his age if I'd been in the same place. And I don't think he wants a parent involved in any of that. He probably wants to be on his own and do his own thing. And I get it. And I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever really kind of make any ends meet. But I think about, days like today where people died and they never saw the fruits of their labors. And with him and his mother, there was a relationship there with me and her. And obviously didn't die, it bared fruit. There's so many relationships that I've been in where it was over. And they're like ghosts to me. They're ghosts because they kind of haunt my memories. And like Schrodinger's cat, they dead or are they alive? It's the superposition argument. If you're not observing, then you're not seeing it. You never know. You're not. I don't know. In my head, I know that this works well. Maybe I'm just not describing it well. But yeah, to me, a lot of those people are like ghosts. And that doesn't necessarily need to be a negative connotation, but it's a good, accurate representation. Are they even really there? How would I know? I don't know. I just don't want my son to be a ghost. And the strange thing is that I haven't even known him, let alone touched him or heard his voice or seen who he was. The things that you would do with a child or kid. And I don't know. I don't know, folks. I'm not depressed. I'm not. Just pensive, wondering. And at the end of the day, I've got my family. Like these other places that I've been, seen, and done. It's done. It's like Dad would have said. Been there, done that. I don't think he would have said that. That would have been the gist. Yeah. I feel extremely lucky that I chose the path that I did, and that I'm here, and I have my kids. It really is the treasure, the reward, the blessing that God's given me. And I hope that someday that He'll see to it that I can see the other son in my life. So I guess if there's a moral to this conversation or discussion, or the gist of what's going on, be thankful for what you have. Be thankful that you are you, and it could be worse. And in the odd chance that it is worse, God has a plan for you in this world and the next. It's like samurai. Samurai were trained not to fear death. And with Jesus, God, the Holy Spirit, I fear death somewhat. But I have faith that the world to come will be. It will be a place. And so whenever I travel or I have to go do something that requires being away from home for a while, sometimes I ponder, have I had a good life? If something was to happen, would I have regrets, or would I be fulfilled? And for a while, I didn't feel like that was the case. I know in 9/11 that wasn't the case. First time I flew after that, I was paranoid. I was scared. I didn't know. And it was kind of a nervous wreck. I was stuck in a hotel in LA. I was actually installing stuff for airline safety, trace detection machines that were sniffing out explosives. And it was my first time in LA. It was one of the first times I'd flown that far away. And I just didn't like it. And I valued my wife, my family at that time. And I don't know, I wasn't the adventurous, I'm going to go have fun, do cool things kind of person during that time. It really kind of sucked something out of me. Not in a PTSD kind of way, but it really made me wonder. It was like when I was a kid and I wanted to be an astronaut, and then I'd solved the discovery the Challenger blow up on TV because I was homesick that day. I didn't want to be an astronaut after that. Although there are parts of me that would have wondered. Still do, maybe a little bit. So yeah, this is however many minutes of me getting stuff off my chest. And I think if you're anything like me, you probably need to get something off your chest. Talk about it. Even if it's to yourself. Kind of like what I'm doing now. Except I'm talking into this fancy microphone. But yeah, the moral of the story is that we are blessed. We're blessed with so much. I can tell you one thing, that I'm alive. And I have a lot to be thankful for. Even if I didn't have the things I had, I'd still be thankful anyway. So be thankful there. Be thankful wherever you're at. God has a plan for you. He's had it since the beginning of time. And I wish I could give you better spiritual advice. But God loves you. I asked my father-in-law from back then, probably around this time, 9/11-ish, somewhere around there. If he could sum up Christ's message into one word, what would it be? And I don't think he thought that long. I think he had to answer pretty quick, and he would say it was love. Love your neighbor. Love him. Love yourself. Love your family. And that's where I started at. As an adult, as a kid, I had the Bible education, I guess, that I was going to get. But I started with love. And I'm still here, and I have more love than I ever thought I could have. And that's what I have for you. Love. Christ loves you. I love you. Is that so hard? I don't think so. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your day. In the grand scheme of history, days like 9/11 thankfully don't happen every day. But they do happen. And just like your ancestors, they moved on. They got over it. Kept going. And that's what I did. And that's what you're going to do. We're all doing it. But I think we should never forget what happened. We can have forgiveness. We can show mercy. But we won't forget. They do say forgive and forget. I'm no genius, but I feel like at some point you need to forget who did it. It's like Pearl Harbor. It's a tragedy. And we'll never forget the day for what happened. But I think we've all kind of forgiven and forgotten what people did it. One bad apple doesn't spoil the whole bunch. Don't blame a whole group of people for a few people's problems. Anyway, that's all you're going to get today from me. Oh man, I've done too much podcasting yesterday and today. So station identification, this is You're Not My Father. I am your host, Thomas Greenman. Enjoy your day. Be thankful. Love yourself. Love each other. Love other people. Forgive.